Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. 7-year-old Amelia burst into tears at the bottom of the stairs in our house as the still unwrapped Christmas presents were swallowed up by the flood. Carol Ann watched her house flood, knowing there was nothing that she could do to protect it. She lost family pictures, personal effects and her home. Soon-to-be married Nina had a buyer for the house and was ready to move to a new chapter in her life. But within minutes, the Ladyburn in Cupar burst its banks and flooded their homes with muddy, stinking water. Their distress has now turned to fury. Fury at all the talk, but no practical action. We've had talk about flood studies, management plans, strategies, capital programmes, planning enforcement, gully examination, attenuation schemes, SUD schemes, the promise of consideration of the possibility of government grants. If talk could hold back the water, we'd never have a flood in Cupar ever again. There has been lots of sympathy, but the residents don't want sympathy anymore. They know it's often used as cover for when those in power have nothing else to offer. Instead, when the Minister stands up, I want her to announce that the victims of Storm Gerrit will get the same grant money that the victims of Storm Babet have received. Just because the Met Office judged the storm yellow instead of amber didn't stop the floods. I've been told for months that it was being seriously considered. But how long does it take to consider a small grant scheme? So please give them the money that they deserve without any further delay. The section action I want today is direct support and clear advice for farmers and landowners along the Eden catchment to slow down the water's speed of flow upstream and to get it away quickly when it gets close to homes and businesses. Some people call it a catchment plan, others a river basin management plan. I don't really care what it's called. We just need a plan, and it's got to be an action plan. Despite all the good evidence about managing catchments, there is no plan, no money, confusing advice and a costly application process if landowners want to do anything. Not just now. Landowners are told by SEPA that removing silt from the river doesn't really work. But then they say there's no ban and permission can be granted. It's confusing. There is now a view amongst farmers and landowners that they will be wasting their time applying for permission. What we know and what we now need is for some public body, in partnership with locals, to identify the bottlenecks and the opportunities on the Eden and its tributaries and secure the necessary permissions so that the farmers can get the work done on their land. That action should be based on the best advice and evidence. We need a comprehensive approach because there is little point in one farmer getting work done in isolation. The whole river system, from bottom to top, needs to be considered. If those further up remove silt, for example, but those further down don't, the water will have nowhere else to go and will flood the homes again. Upstream, we need the same urgent, proactive assessment of the potential for fields and burns in the land to slow down the flow of the water and also reduce the loss of valuable topsoil in some location. The advice needs to be clear. Do trees make a difference? Are buffer strips wide enough? Does organic matter in the soil help? Do swales and reservoirs help? Should certain sections of land only be grass? Which sections should be given up for floodplains? Where could flood storage ponds be located? The Tweeds Forum partnership in the Eddleston Water demonstrates what can be achieved. But I repeat, advice to farmers elsewhere is confusing and conflicting, and there's no grant scheme other than for droughts and riverbank restoration. If ministers are honest, they will admit that nothing is getting done in most of the country. So it's all just talk. Today, I don't have my hand out, for a large, costly flood prevention schemes. They do have their place, but I know money is tight and that they take years. No, what I'm asking for is smaller, faster, relatively inexpensive measures combined with a long-term plan to better manage the watercourses and prevent floods if at all possible. It's a plan with relatively modest funding attached that is required. Now, I've been to lots of meetings in the last few months, meetings with residents, businesses, farmers, environmentalists, anglers, landowners, and they've all been packed. And whilst there are anxieties about how the possible clearing of rivers would be done and the impact on fish stocks and biodiversity, there is so much common ground. And I know there is a path to getting the catchment working to prevent flooding as much as possible and have an ecologically healthy river. But there is nothing proactive planned by the authorities. That is apart from Fife Council, with another flood study that will take years, then even longer to decide on action, then planning, funding and construction. 7-year-old Amelia will likely be an adult before anything actually gets done. Yet we are repeatedly told we are in an emergency, a climate emergency. It doesn't feel like an emergency if you are a flood victim in Cupar. And it's not just Cupar. There have been floods in Dunshalt, in Muchty, Strathmiglo, Kingskettle, Freuchie and lots of other communities. It's not just happened once, so they live in constant fear that the water could come again any time of the day or the night. They know that the climate is changing and that there are more extreme weather events. But they also expect those in power to act, to do everything possible, not to give up on them. The good news is that Amelia will soon have a little brother or sister. Let's make sure that he or she doesn't live in the fear of floods in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Rennie.